Welcome, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so grateful to everyone who was willing and able to make it live to today's workshop, Confidentiality Without Confusion, talking about some client privacy mistakes. My name is Ian Foster. I am an attorney by profession. I am also an energy worker and an educator and business coach. A bit of a contradictory, walking contradiction that helps you out with this business stuff from all these different angles. And I love helping the coaching and healing industry. And so thank you so much for all who were able to make it today. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick da, da, da. Here we go. Just making sure we're all muted so we can minimize background noise. If you have a question, of course, you are free to unmute yourself and you could drop your questions in the chat. So today we're going to talk about when it comes to our client privacy and confidentiality, why just having good intentions in today's world, unfortunately, it's not enough anymore. And we're going to talk about some common client privacy mistakes, kind of three general categories that I see all the time. What I'm calling the safe framework for deciding what's okay and when it's okay to share client information. Hopefully that's something useful, how we can create that greater trust with clients, and then an opportunity to dive deeper in loving community and really learn the ins and outs of this client privacy and confidentiality stuff so that we can create safe containers for ourselves and our clients for everyone's healing journey. And for those who were able to show up today live, thank you so much. You'll have an opportunity to get an extra $497 bonus along with that. So thank you so much. This is for my appreciation for you guys being here. My quick disclaimer, this workshop is for educational purposes only. Please do not consider it to be individualized legal advice, and remember that the laws can be subtle and fact specific, and they can vary by state and situation. So, with our little disclaimer out of the way, remember today's goal is not learning the ins and outs and everything. We do have an opportunity coming up where we're going to dive deeper and learn the ins and outs and what language you need and what situations to use it, and have a much deeper framework in place. But today we just want to get some clarity, little confidence. Hopefully, we're making better decisions when it comes to client privacy and confidentiality. And I think we all kind of intuitively know why the subject of client privacy and confidentiality matters. Our clients are going to trust us if we're in the coaching and healing spaces with a lot of different stuff. They're new and old wounds that they're looking to heal and move past, their current health challenges, sometimes physical health challenges, mental health challenges, family issues they might be struggling with, struggles in their businesses, their spiritual experiences, their spiritual evolution, their spiritual awakenings, all that good stuff, and very often some deeply personal stories. And of course, if our clients do not feel safe around us, they're not going to trust us and be honest with us. And if they're not honest and they're not trusting us, it becomes very hard for us to guide them on their path, whether it's a business path, a healing path, personal improvement path, whatever way you might be helping clients. I think a lot of us here are kind of working in and around the various healing arts in various ways. And we are partnering with our clients on their beautiful healing journeys. And so we do need our clients to trust us in order to create that space for that partnership to co-create together. And so that trust is one of the most valuable assets in your practice. And that trust really does cut right to the core of why client privacy and confidentiality is so important. And so I do want to start with the biggest myth. This is just in my experience, of course, but I'm one of the few attorneys that's truly diving deep and specializing in this whole field. I'm the only attorney I know who's also an energy worker and does energy work with my legal clients. In fact, I end up doing just as much energy work as legal work, as you might imagine, on these sorts of issues. And I do see this a lot. It's essentially, but if I have the good intentions, then I'm probably okay, the whole thing. But I didn't mean to. I thought it was fine. I really thought I was helping somebody or something. I thought I was doing the right thing. That's kind of the biggest myth. And once upon a time, this might have been a decent enough statement. And in today's world, unfortunately, it doesn't cut it anymore. And our mistakes when it comes to privacy and confidentiality, these are happening precisely because often we have the good intentions, not in spite of them, But because we have good intentions and because we are trying to help and because we are trying to do the right thing, that's often what leads to the mistakes. And then we make these mistakes by accident because of simple lack of knowledge, because we don't know what we don't know. And it's okay that we don't know that we don't know. It's okay that nobody ever taught this stuff before. And that's the gap I'm trying to fill so that we can know some of this stuff. We can at least know what we don't know and know a few things and know what questions to ask and have a framework in place so that we can reduce any potential harm to our clients and create that safe container. So when it comes to three common mistakes, number one, and this kind of just goes to what the modern world is, and we are, who knows when you want to define the modern world, but certainly um, for the last 5 or 6 years, the tech and the Zooms and everything have been big for a lot of us in our practices and are enabling us to grow and scale and serve people all over and in beautiful ways that we never would have been able to before. Excuse me. And so all of this technology is a wonderful gift and does give us a lot of promise and ways to help people. And yet, when it comes to privacy and confidentiality, it really does change everything. Confidentiality used to be so much simpler. It lived in conversations. Do you remember when you used to meet people in person and talk to them with our voices, like in the same space? That seems crazy now, huh? We're going to a conference in a couple of weeks where we're so excited to actually see all of our old friends in person and just the community and friendships that we have locally. We treasure the all the people we can see in person, as well as all the folks we can help online. It used to live a lot in paper files, those little file folders, those filing cabinets with the little locks on them. Phone calls, fax messages. Do you guys remember faxing? We used to fax all the time. And back when we were a government lawyer, we had a saying, check twice, send once. That was about faxing. Do you guys remember check twice, send once? That was all about sending faxes. Check the number twice before you send once to make sure you didn't violate somebody's confidentiality or privacy. And today, now that, privacy still does live in those things, believe it or not, there are still faxes being sent around over. They're typically digital and not on the machines anymore. But today, these client privacy and confidentiality issues, they exist in our email, our text messages, our DMs on the various platforms. They exist here on the Zooms. When you see Zoom pop up and say like, can we record? Can we transcribe? Can the AI listen? That all implicates confidentiality issues if you're working with clients. It exists in our cloud storage. I think I said cloud storage. I meant cloud storage. I'm a little bit stuffy right now with some allergies, so I apologize, but that's all right. We are professionals and everything is okay. And certainly in our AI tools and the way we might be using AI to help us in our business, to help us save time so that we can better use our time to do the things we love and serve our clients better, there are confidentiality issues in there as well. Screenshots. This one sort of drives us mad. We see this all the time. Somebody's like, look at this screenshot of this great meeting I had with clients the other day. And I'm like, I can see their faces in there. I know those people. Were they okay with that? Be careful with those screenshots, please. And social media, we are finding that social media ends up with lots of accidental violations of client privacy, completely unintentional and in ways that you might be surprised by and not fully understand. And so we get these simply but costly mistakes. Simple but costly mistakes. That was an awkward phrasing. There's a typo I can fix for the next run of this. It's always good to check that. We move quickly. We may overshare. We're multitasking. A lot of us trying to get a lot of things done at once in the modern world. We get very busy, so many things to do. We underestimate the risk from technology. And sometimes we are revealing more than we think we are. And a common issue we have when it comes to a lot of the sharing in the digital world is, well, I didn't use their name, so it's safe, right? What's the problem? I didn't use their name. But confidentiality in the modern world is much more complicated than that. Without even mentioning a name, you could be giving away things like location and timing, the occupation or business that they're involved in, their family relationships, and unique life events to them. And in our industry, sometimes it's a small world. Do y'all ever think in the coaching and healing world, sometimes it's a small world? Certainly I know, like if you ask me if I know person X in this space, there's a very good chance I do know person X. And if I don't, then I know someone who knows person X. It is kind of a small world. We all get to know each other, and that's beautiful. And I love that it feels like a small world and then we all get to know each other. And In that small world, it becomes easy to connect the dots and figure out who's who, even if you're leaving out the identifying information. So let's be aware of that and be careful. So instead of asking things like, did I use identifying information? Let's ask the question, could someone who knows this person reasonably figure out who I'm talking about? How often are y'all asking that? We're sitting around asking, did I use identifying information? And we're like, no, I didn't use identifying information, so I'm good. But are we asking, could someone who knows them figure it out? That's a better question to ask. And you might be answering that question in the affirmative more often than you think. That one simple shift right there, if you take away nothing else from today's free training, if you choose not to keep working with me and diving deeper, that's all good. Whatever's in alignment with you. But if you take one thing away from today, that one shift can prevent so many problems and so many hurt feelings and so many potential legal and ethical and personal issues when it comes to client privacy and confidentiality. The second big mistake relates to consent. Consent is everything when it comes to working with our clients. Consent is empowering for our clients. Consent is not simply about protecting ourselves from lawsuits and government investigations. It certainly is about that somewhat, but it's really about empowering our clients on their healing journey. And so the second mistake I see is that assuming there's consent when there really isn't. It is very easy to think, well, my client knows I share my success stories, or my client didn't object to it. They didn't say no. They seemed okay with it. We all may have heard that. Well, they seemed fine. They liked the post, right? They clicked the little heart on the post. So that meant it was okay, right? They thanked me afterward. They knew I'd be taking pictures. Didn't they know I'd be taking pictures? And clients know that I reach out to colleagues for advice, other people in the industry, and use case studies. It's easy to think all that, but none of those are consent, certainly not from a legal perspective, and certainly not from what we consider to be strong ethical practice in the industry. Real consent includes all of things. It's informed, it's voluntary, it's specific. That means specific to timeframes, context, what is shared, the whole thing. It is understood, and above all, it's documented. So that if somebody says there wasn't consent, you can point to a piece of paper that says, yes, there was. Real consent is all of those things. And remember, too, that, those of us in these broader healing worlds, we are out there sort of representing the whole industry. For some of us, we are the only or one of a very few points of contact that our clients have with the healing world. And so whether we know it or not, we are kind of representing how this industry runs. And so strong ethical practice in this regard, we think is very important. The third mistake that we see is overpromising confidentiality. And this is a big one because it is so easy to say things like, well, I want my clients to feel safe. I want them to trust me. And you should want those things. Well, should you? I shouldn't tell you what's in alignment with you. So I'll pull that back. We think it's very useful to want your clients to trust you and expect confidentiality and to think that there is a safe container, right? This is good. And then we end up overpromising. We're going to keep everything you tell us confidential no matter what. It's easy to say that, and we understand the instinct. And so we say, everything you tell me is completely confidential. And that intention is truly beautiful and honorable. And we want to honor that intention that all of us have with our clients. It's an intention that we hold often too. So there's nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, what happens is that we later discover, and often too late after the trouble happens, that legally speaking, confidentiality does have limits. And some disclosures actually can be legally required, even when your client does not consent to it. Client communications are not always privileged. Even if you're a licensed practitioner, an attorney like we are, a therapist, a doctor, even then there are exceptions to privilege for client communications. And absolute promises create very painful conflicts for you and the client. So imagine caught between you have a legal demand for information. There's a subpoena, there's an administrative order, the judge, the police, somebody's giving you a perfectly legal demand for information about your client. And on the other side, the client is promised absolute confidentiality, doesn't want you to release it. Does that sound like a fun place to be? I mean, talk about the being stuck between a rock and a hard place. Or we've been rereading the Iliad lately because not the well, the Iliad and the Odyssey lately because the upcoming movie. So this is being stuck between Scylla and Charybdis, if you all remember the reference from Greek mythology. You don't want to be stuck between these two things. Nobody wants to be in that position. And people get there because they make unrealistic promises. And so we think clear expectations, honest expectations about the legal limits of confidentiality with our clients are more important than making unrealistic promises. So that we do want to emphasize this is a real life thing that does happen. We have dealt with it more than once with our clients, our legal clients, because they ended up in this position with their clients in their healing and coaching practices, where they had a valid legal demand for information. They were going to get in trouble if they did not comply with it. And on the other side, they had the client threatening to sue them if they did comply with it. All of that could have been avoided with clear expectations. Because once you get there, it's too late to get out of that position. You're in it. So we would like to think about what we're calling the SAFE framework, to think about client confidentiality. And so for S, the S in SAFE is story. Think about the story. The A is the audience, who's receiving it. F has to do with foreseeability, and E has to do with expectations. And we're going to talk about this framework a little bit more in our upcoming workshop this weekend, but we're just going to give you some of the basics today so that you kind of think about it. So this SAFE framework. So for S in SAFE, start with the story. So just ask yourself, whose story is this really? Is it yours? Or if I'm asking myself, is it my story? Is this my information to share? Is it my narrative? Is it my story to share? Or does it belong to someone else? Is it someone else's story? We often hear this in simple things, forget business. We have friends in our local community, wonderful friends who we like to hang out with. And every now and then, one friend will ask us a question about another friend. And it seems, so Fred comes to us and says, "Hey, Sally, what about that thing, Sally?" And it's easy to say, "Oh, yeah, this and this about Sally," except it's not our information to share, even among friendships, right? We try to be very careful about thinking, whose story is this to share? So the A in safe has to do with the audience. Now ask yourself, who is the audience? Who's going to see this thing I'm considering sharing? Is one person going to see it? Are other clients going to see it? Is it going on social media? Could it potentially reach thousands of strangers? Or goodness knows anymore, if something goes viral, many more than thousands. So whose story is it and who's going to see it? Who's the audience? Now the F in safe has to do with foreseeability. So ask yourself, really, this is where we said before, it's not just about identifying information, it's about, could someone identify the person from the information that's still in there? So how foreseeable is that? And then is it foreseeable that the client might be miffed if I share this and someone figures out who it is? Is it foreseeable that the client will be upset if I respond to a legal demand for disclosure? In which case we're thinking again of upfront clear expectations. And then the E in our safe framework, speaking of expectations, what would a reasonable client expect me to do in this circumstance? And would the client feel honored or surprised by this? And sometimes that surprise question is a nice one to ask, along with, could someone who knows them figure it out? You might ask, if the client sees this thing that I share, would they be surprised to see it? You don't need to ask, would they be mad? Would they be pissed? Would they be upset? Would they be hurt? Just ask, would they be surprised to see it? Or if the client sees this thing I shared, would they say, "Oh yeah, that's right. I knew Ian was going to share that. I gave him permission to share that. I'm totally fine with that. No surprise." So that's the E, expectation in our safe framework. And just a little bit of a practical checklist that you can go through. So before we share, always try to ask. And again, this is some of what we covered today, but we're just kind of summarizing it. Could someone identify the client? Especially think, what if their neighbor or their friend or their family member sees this? Would they be able to identify it? And again, we put this in here because we've seen this in real life. We've had some of our clients share their client stories online and people figure out who it was. And the client's like, but I didn't say their name. I didn't say where they live. I took out all of this information. I took out all this stuff. But the client's neighbor saw it. And when the neighbor saw it, the neighbor thought, well, I have a neighbor who's going through that thing. I wonder if it's them. I have a neighbor who's a single dad of two kids going through this issue. Turns out it's them. So could someone identify the client? And do I have genuine consent? And that's especially important if the answer is affirmative to the first question. If the first question comes back and says, oh, shoot, yeah, a friend or a neighbor could identify from the client from this, then you really got to look at what sort of consent structure do I have in place with the client? Do I have real consent? Was it specific and voluntary and documented, all those things we said. Then ask, would I be comfortable if the client saw this? That's often a great question, your own comfort level, because if you are about to share something and then you think, ooh, I hope the client doesn't see this. Ooh, that's a little yucky. And I'm not judging you for being in that position. I'm putting this here because I found myself in that position where I've been about to share a client story in what I thought was okay. And then I went through this checklist and I thought, wait a minute, am I really okay with the client seeing this? And I thought, shoot, no. And then I was able to identify why. And then I was able to go back and think, I'm not sure the consent I got was as specific as it could have been or as voluntary or informed as it could have been. Maybe I haven't scrubbed it enough of the information. And then ask, am I sharing this to serve or to market? Now, I am not placing a value judgment on marketing. If you want new clients, you got to do marketing. People have to be able to find you somehow. There's nothing wrong with marketing. It is part of what you do so that you can live your mission and serve and bring love and healing to the world. I got to do marketing. It's life in the big city. And so there's nothing wrong with sharing client stories to market, but you also just want to kind of check your energy and say, am I doing this? Am I sharing this because it serves the people who will read it because they will get value out of it, because it serves the potential new clients who come in? Or am I serving this so that I can get more credit card numbers? And then we're asking, am I legally required to disclose this? Because if you're not legally required to disclose this thing you're about to share, you can always pull back and reevaluate whether it's a good idea. And sometimes you are going to be legally required to disclose it, whether you want to or not, whether the client wants you to or not. And so we find that good practices, good ethical practices when it comes to client privacy and confidentiality, they're going to create long-term trust between you and your clients so that you can be on this journey together. We're going to build better and healthier boundaries between us and our clients, stronger client relationships, professional credibility. Now, certainly for yourself, this builds a lot of professional credibility so that you can help train new people in the industry, you can get more clients, you can help more people, and it builds credibility with the industry. Something we've been talking about lately. We've actually been writing articles lately for Energy Magazine about how the holistic slash energy world is starting to get a lot more credibility with the scientific community and the traditional medical world. And we can maintain a lot of this credibility if we do things like have good privacy and confidentiality practices in place. And of course, peace in mind, because if you're sitting around worried about, oh, geez, that thing I shared, was it the right thing to do? That worry, that anxiety takes up mental energy that could be devoted elsewhere. So peace of mind is priceless. And yet the challenge here is that we can only scratch the surface in a free webinar like today, because confidentiality is a much bigger issue than things like testimonial and names and social media. And there are a lot of questions that we didn't have time to go into on this because there's a much deeper dive and there's a lot more that goes on and goes into them. What if a client threatens self-harm or harm to someone else? What if law enforcement does request information? How do I handle that? What about a subpoena? How do I handle a subpoena? There are there are ways to handle subpoenas that are maybe a little more productive and a little less productive. What about spouses and family members of the client? What should actually be in my privacy policies? What actual language do I need for the different situations? What are all the different situations? Because there are probably more different situations than you think. Some of you have probably been to my workshops on that. You can attest to that. How do I store this client information, right? Is it in a locked file cabinet? Is it on the cloud? What about my Facebook groups or the other social media stuff that I'm doing? What about the Zoom calls? What about AI? And AI is becoming a huge thing. So we're going to talk a lot more about that in our upcoming workshop on Saturday. A whole new section on how that affects client confidentiality. And that does lead us to this Saturday's workshop. It's our Confidentiality with Care legal workshop. This Saturday is the second Saturday in June. So this is part of our regular second Saturday workshop series. And June is when we touch on client privacy and confidentiality workshop. It's a full day intensive workshop on the Zooms where we get together and do this in community. It's funny, we were just doing a human design course with our friend, and it tells us that our style of teaching is being part of the community that we're teaching to and doing it in community, which kind of resonates and makes a little bit of sense. We certainly can lecture at you all day long, but that's not our preference. We'd love to do this together. So we're going to do this together in community. It's this Saturday, June 13th. It's going to be 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to run up to 6 hours, including break times. This is one of our all-day ones because it's a deep dive on all of these issues and ensuring that we can cover as much as possible and coming with a lot more bonuses and everything with it, Tim. So we are going to deep dive into all of those different privacy and confidentiality risks, list them out, put them on a spectrum, think which ones are more applicable to you, which ones are less applicable, so that you can analyze these things for yourself. We're going to talk about the different kind of privacy promises that we make and whether to make them and when to make them, when it's appropriate, whether it's appropriate at all to make these different promises. We're going to talk about when disclosure may be required, not just desirable, but when disclosing client information actually is legally required or ethically required or both, and those different circumstances and how to deal with them. We're going to talk about the differences between intentional disclosure and accidental disclosure. And then if your disclosure is accidental, what are the times that might happen and how do you deal with the aftermath of it? We're going to talk about your social media policies and your risk management when it comes to your social media presence, whatever social media platform you're using out there. We have a whole section on this. We added that section in last year just because client privacy is becoming such a big issue with our social media usage. So we have a whole section on that. And this year, brand new, we are adding in an entire new section on risk management when it comes to our use of AI tools. We like AI tools. Whether you use them or not is up to you and whether it's in alignment with your values. But a lot of folks are using them to great effect to grow and scale their businesses because it frees us up to do the things we love, like sit here and meet all you lovely folks today and meet those who are going to join us on Saturday and interact with you all and really have this wonderful, back and forth in community. So if you're using AI to free you to serve people in the ways you love and are passionate about, there are some serious privacy risks when it comes to how your client information is handled there. And so we're going to have a whole new section coming this Saturday on managing that. We do talk about data storage and compliance issues when it comes to how, because if you have this client information, it's being stored somewhere, assuming you're not just relying on memory all the time, you're storing that information somewhere. And we are going to talk about sample policies and procedures, actual language that you can use right away, drop it into your existing contracts, consent forms, agreements. We're going to have sample policies that cover a whole variety of different kind of situations for you so that you don't have to write this language for yourself. You can get the language that we recommend and modify it for yourself as needed. You also get the printable slides to take notes. And they're nice. We make our printable slides in black and white, so we're not using up all of your printer ink, and it's in that nice little note-taking format. You get the full recordings of the entire thing, so if you can't make it the whole time, that's totally okay. You will get all the recordings, and if you can't make it live, you get to come back, but you get to revisit the material at your own pace. You keep access to all of this. You get ongoing access. There's no deadline for you. You get ongoing access to all this. You get that sample policy language right you can use right away. It's a whole document full of different kinds of privacy and confidentiality policies that will cover a lot of different situations that you can drop into your existing contracts, agreements, consent forms. Just a lot of practical guidance. We're going to spend a lot of time just kind of going through things step by step together. You build this brick house of your your whole client confidentiality and privacy foundation built out of bricks. We're going to talk about these one brick at a time. Let me hold space for the big giant brick foundation, and let me hand you the one brick at a time to lay it in place. I'm not going to ask you to hold space for everything. You will get it brick by brick so we can build these things together. Lots of live Q&A. That's the great thing about doing this workshop. Again, you could just listen to us lecture at you all day. You could buy recordings of us lecturing at you all day. And we do enjoy listening to ourselves talk and lecturing. We do that all the time. But we really love doing it in community. For us, the value is doing this together. We love it when you ask us hard questions and we get to say, gosh, I don't know, but let's figure it out together. Because those hard questions, those new questions of the new things that come up that we haven't thought of before, are how we keep improving, are how we all learn together, and how we get to stretch ourselves and create more value for the community going forward. So we love the live Q&A time. So our confidentiality with care legal workshop coming up with this Saturday. It's an investment of $547 or 3 payments of $187 if you need a payment plan. We can go ahead and drop the link in here now. We do have a few more things to say. Oh, good. That link should work. If somebody could test it just to make sure, because I had a little copy paste issue earlier, just in case I messed it up. But hopefully that link should work. If not, I have a different one. So that's the investment to join us and get all of that this Saturday, the full day. Now, we said we would have an additional bonus as a huge thank you to everyone who was willing and able to make it live today, because again, we love the live interaction. We love the community. And in a few minutes here, we have tried to get through things in a timely manner to be respectful of your time and leave time for Q&A today. So we will have that. Thank you so much to everyone who attended live. Because you attended live today, you get bonused into the Healers document package when you sign up for this weekend's workshop. Thank you, Charlie. Very grateful. So if you sign up for this weekend's workshop, you get bonused into the Healers document package. This normally sells, it does sell every day for an extra $497. So you get that bonused into you. So this goes beyond just the sample language. And you do also get the document full of sample language to cover a variety of circumstances. But here you can also get 3 ready-to-use templates. The informed consent for healing services. So for those of you in the healing realm, the holistic realms, the alternative medicine realms, and if that's not quite your realm, that's okay. This is it's fairly easy to modify for a lot of different things, and it contains basically just a lot of extra sample language you can use for your situation. And for those in the healing realms, you get the Energy Healing Client Bill of Rights, which is a must for all of us in the holistic energy world anymore in order to get our safe harbor protections and make sure that we are going to be free from government interference in the stuff we're doing. And you get the template for the limited permission to release information. The ROI, the release of information form, is very important for getting client permissions. Again, we're talking about when to share, when it's okay to share. Do you have consent? This makes sure that you have that consent and that it's specific and documented. So you get that bonused in for those who are able to join us this weekend. So the full package, you get the 6-hour live workshop on Zoom this Saturday, including all the Q&A time. There will be break times, don't worry, because I know I'm going to need times for bathroom breaks and snack breaks and all that. So we will stretch up and move our bodies. There will be break times. We'll probably do a little bit of meditating, a little bit of energy work. That's the fun thing about being an energy worker and an attorney, is we get to combine all of that stuff. You get the full recordings. You get ongoing access that you can watch them again at your own pace. Or if you can't make it today, this weekend live, or can't make it for the whole thing, you will be able to go back and watch the recordings and still get the value out of it. Oh, and if you want to join but cannot make it live and you'll be relying on the recordings, be sure you can email us with questions that you want answered during the Q&A time. That way we make sure your questions are answered on the recordings so that you get the benefit and everybody else gets the benefit of those questions as well. You get the printable slides for taking notes. You're going to get our updated guidance on confidentiality in the digital world today. Again, we are updating and adding to the content. So this is going to have more stuff in it than we talked about the last couple of years because of how people are now using social media and AI. So you're going to get our updated guidance on that stuff. You're going to get that sample policy language that you can use right away in a variety of different situations if you're in the coaching and healing worlds. And you will get the Healers document package, which is an additional $497 value. And that will be your free bonus for attending this weekend's workshop if you're able to make it. That's 3 ready-to-use templates so that you don't have to write this stuff from scratch, and you can you can get right into it. So the workshops, the recordings, the slides, the sample language, the healers document package with the ready-to-use templates at the additional value. You get all that for $547 or 3 payments of $187. Oh, there's another typo for me to fix for the next run. That's less than the cost of a 1-hour legal consult with me. Some people are like, well, I don't really want to do all that. I just want to consult with you for an hour. And my response is, okay, that'll be $600, please. And then suddenly the value of this workshop in community looks a lot better by comparison. So just serve your clients knowing that your policies are stronger, that your boundaries are clear and healthy, that your confidentiality practices are safer legally and ethically, that your clients are trusting you. And we'd love to have you all join us this Saturday. We can drop the link again in just so it's fresh in there. And we're happy because we're doing well on time today. We wanted to be respectful. We knew a lot of folks would be able to only stick around for 45 minutes or an hour. So we're happy to answer a few questions. Does anyone have any questions today while we're here? Yes, Laura, you will still be able to purchase after the workshop and get access to all of that too. So whether you buy now or next week, you still get access to everything, including the bonus because you were on the call today. Any questions about anything we talked about today? Client privacy or confidentiality or the upcoming workshop this weekend? Charlie?
It's not really a question. It's just I never even considered. Um, I'm protecting the information. I haven't said a word, and the client hasn't said a word. But legally, somebody comes to me and subpoenas me for the information. Then the client says, "I'll sue you if you release it." I never even considered that.
Yeah, it's not a great situation to be in.
No.
We have gotten paid good money to try to unravel those messes, but we'd rather you didn't get into those messes in the first place, quite frankly, because it's really no fun for have to unravel that mess for you. And it's super avoidable up front. And any Monty Python's fans here, does anybody remember the Spanish Inquisition sketch? Does anybody expect the Spanish Inquisition? No, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. That's like getting subpoenaed. People are like, getting subpoenaed? What are you talking about? Well, nobody expects to get subpoenaed and then you get subpoenaed. Thousands of people around the country today are going to wake up and get subpoenaed that they had no idea was coming. Coaches and healers today are going to get subpoenaed. They had no idea it was coming. And the subpoena usually has nothing to do with you or the services you're offering the client. It has everything to do with some unrelated matter the client's involved in. I've seen healers get subpoenaed for client information because their client was involved in a divorce or a child custody dispute or a business dissolution that went bad. And the attorneys on the other side thought, well, this healer person might know something useful. And indeed, you might know something useful, which is why this is such a big issue there. Yes, Laura, we are going to talk about device access. Thank you. We are going to talk about that. That's one of the things we cover. You're very welcome, Jennifer. Glad you could make it. Any other questions, comments? How are we doing when we talk about this client privacy stuff? How are we feeling about it?
More unsettled now.
A little unsettled? That's okay. It's okay to feel a little bit unsettled right now. We're going to settle all this down when we go through this brick by brick on Saturday. We're going to settle all this down. We don't necessarily mean to leave you with unsettled, feeling unsettled today, but we do mean to leave you thinking, boy, you know, there's some stuff to make sure that I'm being careful of here. Yes, Laura, we will be talking about the difference between mandated and not mandated, privileged and not privileged, all that different stuff. All those different things.
It seems very overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be. And we can still take that deep breath, do our tapping, do our meditation. We're folks who have a lot of tools for regulation. Often we are better about helping our clients with nervous system regulation than we are ourselves, right? But that's okay. The same tools still work. It's going to sound funny, but we've been helping clients with nervous system regulation for a long time. And it's really only about a year ago that we were like, gee, maybe we should use those tools internally. And wow, it works. So, yeah, there is a lot, right? But at least today you have some framework and some idea of what's involved moving forward. And hopefully as you think about client information and how you're storing it, how you're using it, where you're using it, all the different things you're doing, at least some of this stuff from today's workshop will pop little questions into your head that you can ask yourself that will be more productive on it. But yeah, this weekend, again, this is why this weekend we're probably gonna do some meditating and little healing and everything around all of this too while we go through it as well. That's part of the reason it's 6 hours. So yeah, Lori, it's roughly 6 hours total. I mean, it might be plus or minus a little bit, depending on how many are able to make it live versus recording, how many are able to stay the whole time, and all of that stuff. So, mhm. Yeah, Jennifer, it is doable. It absolutely is doable. People are doing it. People come to the workshops and learn all this stuff, and they are doing it. Um, but yeah, the tech and social and AI, it can undermine our best of intentions, which is why we're going to learn the proactive stuff on how to deal with all that so that we're not worried about it after the fact. Mhm.
So are there places we should not be storing our data?
Uh, we're going to go through lists of that on Saturday. I will say, not Google Drive.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
because it's easily accessible.
Yeah, it's not as secure. We do not put client information on Google Drive.
I think sometimes it's like so confusing, like on my computer. I'm not sure I know where it's really going anymore.
Hmm.
It used to be on my computer, then it was somewhere, and it's very confusing.
Yeah, now what's locally on your device? What's being backed up onto you're right, Laura. Some things are backing it up onto Google Drive, backing it up onto Dropbox, and then the cloud storage we're using because hard drives are getting smaller and smaller nowadays because things are stored on the cloud. What sort of security do we have on the cloud? What's being backed up, what's not? Um, there are some folks who are like, you know what? We're going to store client information on pieces of paper in a locked filing cabinet. That's kind of the other end of the spectrum from Google Drive, right? Yes, Laura, we're going to talk about that as well, the consents that we give the AIs and everything. That's a good point. Hey, Tara, under your bed, there you go with your extra cash and your canned goods. Hey, it's safe. Hmm. Dewey Decimal, yeah. Anybody else have to learn the Dewey Decimal growing up and the cards?
It's vaguely
When we went to
familiar.
law school in the 1990s, the law library at our law school was 6 floors, um, 6 floors of nothing but law stuff, and we had to do it all with the little card catalogs. The first floor, like half of the first floor, was just all the little drawers of cards to tell you where to find things. Mhm. I don't know, Laura. I don't know if there are ones where you cannot opt out. I mean, we have found ways to opt out in various situations, but again, we may not have found everything. I mean, we've had to go into the AIs we use and make sure we opt out of sharing. We've had to opt out of all the stuff on Zoom. A lot of that, again, we don't have a problem with AI. We use AI. It makes our business more efficient, so we can spend more time doing the stuff like this that we really enjoy. And yet, that is an issue. And these are all risk spectrum, right? There's no such thing as 0% risk or 100% risk when it comes to your client privacy and confidentiality. It's all going to be on a spectrum, and that's okay. Any other questions? Well, if not, we'll just drop it in there in case anyone needs to click on it. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for those who are willing and able to make it today. We hope you have a beautiful Monday ahead. Bye, everyone.